No.
He didn't have a car, so
Thank
I
you.
had to even the fare.
Ah. Okay.
Good. Yeah. I just can't turn my head.
Great. Thank you very much. I assume we're all marked and we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much for meeting today, Chloe, here and giving us an opportunity to hear what it is to be, a Hong Kong artist, because I think sometimes that gets lost in the kind of huge momentum of Art Basel.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear kind of the stories of the artists and how it's working here. I really wanted to start with a really, kind of just a straightforward question, I hope.
Sure.
But how did you come to art? What was kind of a trigger moment? Was there a trigger moment when you decided you wanted to be an artist and you wanted to pursue this career?
Um, so when I was young, I've been learning drawing and very traditional kind of art.
Yeah.
And then when I got into the University of City University of Hong Kong, I study creative media, which is technology and art. And then during the graduations, I start a project that using kinetic and tell the story about my childhood. And after showing that piece, I got more recognitions or people really like the work, and I feel that it comes very naturally that the work also picked by a gallery and to show it, and I start to think about how my voice can stand in the art world, and it will be fun that I can express myself through the art. So I've been thinking about what art career it is, and it seems like an endless pursuit of expressions and creations, which is what I really like to do. So that's how I start
Yeah.
like the art career path.
And you talk about, when you're at university and you start to do this work and you talk about your story. And I know in reading about your work, there seems to be a very personal element to it, where you're taking a lot of the emotions, whether they're
Right.
yours or, and then trying to channel them through these different objects you work with. I mean, could you expand a little bit more on I suppose, or give us a broad description of your practice?
Yeah. Basically, I think I have very strong sensitivity when I see objects and how it relates to my feeling. So it's quite funny when I say that I can, I want to feel how the object feel,
Yep.
because the object is invented by us, by human, and we always have engaged. We need to engage with the object, even though there's a function or no function. So, and also it has a huge cultural background.
Yeah.
So, it's not only, even though it's personal, I just take that object and then put it into my practice or storytelling, like a tool to to let other people to engage the story. So the work, so it's nice to use ready-made object that people have another perspective to see it. Like this is in daily life, and it's just more interesting that I can put more layers on top of that and then tell the story. And even maybe some people will tell me how they feel, like they have their own story as well.
Yeah.
So it makes resonance, and I really like the exchange with the other people. So as the way I tell the story, as also I want other people to get into it and tell their own story as well.
Yeah.
So this is the fun part of my practice.
Yeah, engaging with the audience, and I think certainly the titles of your work are very evocative. You know, they immediately, I think, ask of the audience to consider how they respond to the work.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about your graduation work, which was called The Burst of Pleasure,
Yes.
and you did it in 2012.
Yes.
And I wondered if there might have been an image of it, but
Yeah, it just looked.
my understanding, so correct me. There it is, perfectly timed. So there we go. So The Burst of Pleasure. So you have a balloon and a candle.
Yeah.
Is it candle?
There's a needle
And
inside.
then a needle.
There's a needle inside the candle, so it's an extension, and it's an analogy about celebration.
Yeah.
Like, what's the meaning of growth and celebration? We usually think it's a happiness, but I turn it into a very tense, stressful scenario that the balloon keeps pumping until.
Because if I'm right, the work is motorized. The balloon rises. Is that right in the work, and then it kind of drops down again?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So there's a sensor that can test the distance, but for other people, they feel really scared because because the balloon is quite huge. It's like 30-inch.
Yes.
So for me, I'm also, during the process of the making of the work, I also have to overcome the fear.
Yeah.
But
it creates a heightened, like a real tension in that work.
Yeah.
Which then links back to the title, you know, Burst of Pleasure.
Yes.
It's always burst your bubble. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that I think people immediately relate
Shock.
to that.
Yeah.
Shock. The idea of oppositions. But you just then said, when I make the work, I mean, the actual process of making a work like that, the mechanical bits and the practicalities.
Yeah.
Do you have people you collaborate with to do that, or are you yourself engineering? And I mean, how does that kind of come about?
We usually have to, in the university, we have some introductions.
Yeah.
How to get into kinetic.
Yes.
But it's really brief. Because how we use engineering or mechanics everyone is different.
Yeah.
But the concept or the physics concept or engineering needs a little bit of studying.
Yes.
But there's a lot of talks on the internet.
Yeah.
So my peers also learn from the internet or books.
Yeah.
I also, if I have questions, I also have to ask my peers as well. But basically I have to explore. There's a lot of trial and errors, of course. So that work, it takes me like half a year to explore, because there's some parts I have to custom make. Yeah.
So in terms of your process, what you're doing, you come up, you think about the concept, and then it's a matter of trying to create the engineering around it, I suppose, for it to actually find some life.
Yes.
At the end of it. And I think sometimes people forget that, in fact, especially young artists, have got this real challenge of not being able to call on technical experts, that in fact they're managing their way through this. I mean, would you describe that as one of the big challenges of being an emerging young artist?
You mean the technology?
Yeah, and the, you know, the finding funding this type of work.
Of course, there's a lot of materials that we need to purchase,
Yeah,
and during the learning and the making, it's not 100% successful.
yeah,
So there's a lot of materials or resources we need to experiment or do research.
yeah,
So of course, funding is absolutely important to support others, not just emerging. I think
Yeah.
in general we are trying to push the limit of the material. So some technicians, they may say, oh, this may not work, but
Yeah.
like for others, we are just being rebellious. We are very curious about
Yeah.
how it can become what we imagine can come into life.
yeah. That balance.
Yeah, so I also wish, well, in terms of the funding, in Hong Kong, there's not much variety. Like there's, of course, the government support the young artists. We have some grants. But compared to other countries, because I went to Canada before,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of great funding, like in terms of the duration.
Yes.
So sometimes we need a longer period to experiment.
But because you have had, from what I understand, I mean, I've referred before to an emerging artist, but in fact, you've done a lot of work and you've had residencies, like Videotage, I believe.
Yeah,
You
video
know,
touch. Also went to Zurich. I spent 2 years in Canada to
Yes.
study my master. Another residency in Austria for
Yeah.
Arts Electronica, Future Lab. So there's a lot of exchange ideas
Yeah.
inside.
Yes. Would you say, you know, your time, let's say, at Videotage was particularly important and seminal to moving on in your practice? What were the seminal moments if you look back at different things where you kind of, oh wow, I've got a whole new development here? Was there any sort of one or two moments?
You mean like the how the video touch project?
Yeah, how did that project influence you?
That's my first solo exhibition.
Yeah,
Until now, I still feel very happy that I did it in Video Touch because they are the first and like supporting video art, but also media art in Hong
Yeah.
Kong. So that's not other institutions that so focused like them. So at that time, I have a very short time to prepare actually,
Okay,
and
yeah.
then like I made 3 pieces of work to respond to the social issue
yes,
because it was right after the umbrella movement.
yeah,
I'm generally not really know a lot about politics, but it's just the way my practice concern a lot about emotions.
Yes.
And I'm sure like many people have strong feelings or strong voice
Yeah.
talking about this event. And actually at that time I was in Austria having the residency. So most of the resources or information I look through the internet. So during the exhibitions, when I plan it, I think I should really go back to my emotion, how I feel about that. So most of the work I didn't really do it during the umbrella movement.
Yeah.
It's after that
So sort of it was almost work that reflects back.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a work called Waiting for Another Round.
Yeah.
It's a video work that I took the bus view on the bus stop.
Yes.
So I took it in different places in the Occupy movement that is
Yeah.
already dispersed. So I keep shooting like 22 days. Every day I try to capture the bus stop in front of me, and then
Yes.
I compose the view into how to say, like I divided the views.
Yes.
And then compose into different, in terms of the places on the screen.
Yeah, so,
like,
so they're all like in like cubes or like a grid
Yeah, yeah.
with all the different views of, on different days, the view of the bus stop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a like a symbolic meaning of the when the bus stop means the society where it's not functioning, but at the end the bus still have to move on.
Yeah.
So there's another meaning about like the stop, and also keep going. So it's how I feel about the struggle of the society. At
Yeah.
the same time, this is how I interpret the movement and also how I feel using the object as well, even though it's a video piece. Yeah. So this work, like, because it's different medium, and I see that I really have like strong idea about how using object to tell story.
Yes.
Even
yeah.
I do not use the object itself, like placing it in the exhibitions. Yeah.
Yeah, so there, and so that was, as you say, your first solo exhibition.
Yeah.
And then if we talk about some other exhibitions that you've had, and I'm thinking at Art Basel, was it last year?
2 years.
2 years ago, and you showed with
Mother's Tank Station.
Yeah, Tank Station.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about the work that you showed then. It was called Dependence.
Yeah.
And if you want
And
to
also
describe
since
it.
we last met.
Yeah. Yes.
So this work I did after, it's a personal story. Like I did it after the breakup, my first breakup, and then it's my first time to realize like how relationship works, or like how impactful it is of a human relationship.
Yes.
So I did a very simple work. Dependence is using 2 light bulbs.
Yeah.
2 light bulbs, it's this one.
There we go. That's well timed again. Yes. Yeah.
So one is have power on, and the other I just cut the cables.
Yeah.
And how it become alive, which means functionable, is by using the light source to go through the one that is, I would say, dead.
Yes.
So this is how I describe an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
That you have to depend on other person in order to stay alive. Once you take out the dead object, it doesn't make sense at all. Like it loses the function.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is how I feel about the relationship.
Yeah.
And the other one is called Since We Last Met. It's
Yes.
2 toothbrush. So one toothbrush. One toothbrush will keep moving,
Yeah.
and the other stay there.
So from what I understand, that was like on a plinth, and
Yeah.
then one toothbrush is sitting still, and the other toothbrush is moving. So
Yeah.
in the cycle, they come together, and then they move away.
Yeah. So what's the discovery is the bristle of the toothbrush when they encounter each other.
Yes.
There's some friction inside,
Yes.
and then the movement suddenly like slow down. So they have to struggle, or maybe for other people they may think it's kissing. That's how other people tell me, and for me it's kind of, I see it negatively, but it's funny that how my intention of the work can be open to other audience to see,
Yeah.
that they tell, it kind of reflect how they feel, like if
Yes.
you're a positive or negative person.
Yeah, well, whatever somebody's maybe personally going through. I mean, all the objects you're using as well, they're everyday objects. I mean, it's the ready-made.
Yeah.
They're objects that you find at home and around where you live,
Yeah.
and they're quite, I assume, quite important to you. And I was thinking then about the latest work I've seen of yours, which is in the exhibition Exit Strategies
Yeah.
at H Queens. which I think if anyone hasn't seen it, they should go and see it. It's a really great exhibition. It's in the stairwell, and I've explained it to you, you know obviously, but I thought it was fantastic the way it was situated in the stairwell at H Queen's, and as people went down the stairwell they were able to engage with the work in I think quite an intimate way, and it had some fantastic Hong Kong artists in it, and I wondered if you could talk about the two works that you showed.
Right. So the theme exit strategies is usually talking about, I'm not so familiar with financial industry,
Yeah.
but I know this is a term that like the business have to find a plan when it doesn't work out.
Yep.
So for me, I made two pieces. One piece is called Long Gone. It's about communications. So I just took the object of a telephone and I used 3D printed material, which is transparent material. It's kind of, my intention is because the stairway is kind of enclosed space.
Yes.
So I really want to break the spatial, the thoughts of the spatial environment that is closed. So
Yeah.
telephone is a two-way of communications that it helps to break the wall.
Yep. It's a way out, isn't it? It's a way
yeah,
to go
yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
where you are physically standing.
Yeah, and however the handstand it's hanging.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a little bit hopeless, like no one answering this side, and that's become a question or open question, like why the phone is there and what's the people on the other side. And the way that I make it is I've been thinking about the term ghosting, which is kind of more common. The word become common during the technology. Well, we use maybe online dating app or something that we communicate other people, and once we no longer want to have further communications with them, we just disappear, like not answering the phone, not answering the text. This is how modern people treat relationship normally, and I feel this is, so the appearance of the phone, like transparent, it's like ghost also. So there's some kind of mysterious feeling or style inside. So the word long gone becomes like that. So yeah, and then the other word is called homeless. So I produced it in Canada when I relocate there.
And you relocated there to do your masters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did my master of sculpture there, and at that time I was feeling very low because of the relocation and also some emotion. I'm quite an emotional person, so it affects me how to make work. So at that time, I feel that I really want to encounter with the homeless people.
Yeah.
Because homeless people, we treat it as like we need to give them resources. Instead, it's just one way.
Yeah. So you feel like it's not seen as a reciprocal relationship?
Yeah.
That it's a giving all the time.
Yeah.
And were you also feeling a sense of, I mean, you sort of said you weren't very happy when you first got to Montreal. I mean, that's often to do when you move to a new place and you don't belong. I mean, there is also an emotional sense of homelessness,
right?
You know, rather than also a physical one.
I would like to. So this project is really for my. I really treat the process very seriously because I took the process as a way for me to get healed as well.
Yeah.
Because the more people we encounter, the more we can put ourselves outside.
Have
and
empathy.
Engage.
Yeah. So just to quickly give a description of the work, it's a long metal, like a vitrine box was how to describe it, with coins placed all the way through it.
Yeah.
and each
So-
coin is different.
So each coins I exchange with the homeless people, and those are the coins that I collected from them. And I had,
So there you some instead of a one-way
yeah,
relationship that you described before, you were trying to create more of a two-way relationship
Right.
and some exchange.
yeah, I did exchange with them, and the way I put it into a line is talking about equality or how we see, how we value coins or the value of people.
Yeah.
Just an open question to the people, how they see when the coins are aligned with each other.
Yeah, yes. And I think just to sort of, in a way, we'll probably get to a point where we have to wrap up,
Yeah.
sadly. And I suppose I was interested in, we touched right at the start of the talk about what it is to be a Hong Kong artist. And I'm interested in your views on the future for Hong Kong artists in a city that is now a major arts hub.
Yeah.
Do you feel positive about it, or do you have some concerns?
I think for sure the future of the art in Hong Kong, I think it will be much more vibrant, and I'm very positive about the future.
Yeah,
It's just that there a lot of facilities or policies need to catch up, because I feel that the art scene in Hong Kong changed really quickly and developed really quickly. But the people behind working in the art industry, we need more respect, or we need more resources, or the policies that can help the artist to grow, because the rent here is always the issue. And artists here, we also have to bear the cost while developing the work.
Yeah.
But making work, the trial and error, the research, it takes time and also money to have a much mature progress. So it needs some help from the government or other public or commercial sector that understand that we need art not just for entertainment, but a way to reflect, and also to help our public to be more understand the spiritual or
yeah. I mean, you talked about empathy before, and sometimes I think that's what artists, and certainly your work, in many ways triggers that sort of sense of how do other people feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought I'd just finish on a question. What next for you? What are you working on now?
Actually, I have to finish my master.
Yes.
And after that, maybe I'm very interested in public art right now. So I wish to learn more about the productions, and also there may be some future project with other hotel or other architecture firm, like how to make the work successful or put into a public space.
Well, I mean, similar to what you did in Exit Strategies, where you were using that public space in a way to engage the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been really interesting to hear about your
me
experience
too.
as an
I'm happy
artist.
to share.
Yeah, thank you, and all the best in finishing your masters.
Thank you.
Okay.
So